It operates as a thought experiment or as a way of thinking, and I don't often make work to make a final object. It's really just a continuation of thought, so whatever I'm reading, wherever I'm kind of going, I'm constantly digesting and trying to work through ideas, and the detritus of this is what artworks. To take you through the 4 works which are kind of the one work. On the table there's 3. One of them is a deconstructed LCD screen that it's running off a microcontroller. The microcontroller sends these tiny little pulses that happen at a particular rate that tells it that it's drawing a screen. And then from there I've taken 3 other channels, the RGB channels, which normally make up the colors of the image, and those are being fed through microphones. One of the sources is the radio tuned in, and then the other one is coming from some speakers with the Pirahan language, which is this language in the Amazon, which a possible refutation of Noam Chomsky's ideas of universal grammar, the idea that our biology predetermines how we think in language. And then the final one is just open to the space, so it picks up a little bit of the other 2 sources, and it also picks up people walking around in the space. That work feeds quite directly into the work that's next to it, which is called Universal Grammar, and then in brackets Chomsky. When you look at it, it's a laptop, but what the work actually is not the computer. The work is a little USB stick that sits in the side of the computer, and that is programmed with Noam Chomsky's ideas of universal grammar. So it's constantly constructing sentences that are grammatically correct and outputting them as keyboard strokes. So that actually is the work, is this idea of this kind of keyboard that is embedded with all this language and these ideas of language. The extra work on that table, which is kind of sitting in between those, is this partially deconstructed LCD screen. It's running once again off a microcontroller, but then on the screen I've written like a script that contextualizes a lot of the ideas that I was reading and thinking about during the time of making the work. Every time it writes a letter, it also chooses 500 points to decay, so it's just constantly decaying the image while also writing. So it's this tablet that is continually dissolving and reforming. The final work, which is probably the most discrete out of all of them, is the 16 little screens on the wall. And I've programmed each of them with the same program, and that runs through 45 symbols from this disk called the Faceless Disk. The screen is programmed to show each of the symbols. It shows each one based on the probability of it occurring on the disk. So it also stays for the amount of time based on its probability. So if it occurs frequently, then it is shown very quickly. If it only occurs once, then it will stay for about 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds. So that starts to have this kind of twinkling, starry effect, and you also start to get different combinations of symbols coming up. Language is a technology. Technology is language. It's a fascination in how things actually come to mean something, and that kind of like that spectrum of expressibility of like, here's all these symbols that mean stuff, and these ones don't mean anything. I'm kind of endlessly been fascinated by how that slips and changes and slides and ambiguities that arise through words. I always try and work in a way that if I do have to make an object, I'd like the object to function on multiple levels, so people who aren't really interested in art can come in and find something joyful in it, or people who know a little bit more about art can get something else out of it, and that depending on where you're at, you could find something in it, or if you want to go really deep, you can go to follow all those references and find some kind of gem.